giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Specs, streaming live on YouTube. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Good morning, good people. Coming up today, it's Tuesday. It's time for Take Tuesday. I tried to remove my emotions from the game. That's going to be hard to do that. But I remove my emotions, give y'all my sky-optic view of what I saw from the game. And then we'll break down some film today. I want to take a look, obviously, at the offensive side. I know the defense is pretty easy there, but offensive side of the ball. And actually look at some things they could build on. They need to build on. Because if the Cowboys defense is not going to be able to stop the run, then you're going to need your offense to make people stop the run, right? But that's the holistic view of that situation. I want to kind of break this thing down to fine print on offense and show you guys about 6 plays. Only one play that I'm going to have a gripe with. There's a bunch of plays I have a gripe with, but I could sit here all day and do that. I want to pull out some of these plays I feel like the Cowboys need to take and build upon if they want to get this thing rolling, because I feel like I'm in, you know how I feel about it. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. It's the same thing that happened the first 3 weeks last year. Same thing happened again this year. And we'll see if the Cowboys can turn it around. All right. In the roundup, we do have some injury news, a little bit concerning since the Cowboys have a quick turnaround. They'll be flying out tomorrow to travel to New York. Hopefully these guys are all right. And we got a special guest coming through later to break down a little bit more of this game. One of my favorite analysts in the game doing it will be joining us later. With that said, what's up with your Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Appreciate that, AB. I'm definitely a little bit better for sure. Still got a sore throat, but you can hear me sound a lot better. My energy is a lot better because I had a nice little rest day yesterday. So, yeah, I'm ready to go, man. Fired up to break this stuff down with y'all and get going. So, let's hit this roundup and let's get to it.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you!
Today, I'm going to talk to you. Yesterday, I had Coach Mike McCarthy talk to you and told us how they weren't prepared. And don't like that. Hopefully, after 2 ass whoopings, they'll be more prepared. But they may have to prepare without Kalen Carson and Marquise Bell, who popped up on the injury report, the early injury report, because, again, Cowboys play Thursday, so technically Monday is kind of a sped up day. I don't believe either team practiced, but they had to kind of issue out who was out there, likely in walkthroughs, not a full-blown practice, but likely walkthroughs. Bell left the game in the second half, early in the second half. He didn't return. That kind of went unnoticed. Again, I don't listen to the broadcast during when I'm watching live. I can't hear anything, so maybe they said that. Again, it's not like he plays a whole lot anyway on defense. Maybe he should. But he left the game with an ankle injury early in that second half, did not return, did not practice yesterday. So we'll see what's going on with him. Mostly special teams guy. But at this point, although, like I said, man, I'm at the point where break the pool sticks, let him go compete. I mean, I've been there, but let him compete. Kalen Carson. Man, me and Jesse were watching again. We're like, at some point, some point, Derrick Henry is going to posterize somebody. Who's it going to be? I don't know. Ended up being Kalen Carson. But shouts out to the young man because he showed some heart. All right, he didn't back down from nothing. But boy, oh boy, Derrick Henry hit him. He got the meanest stiff arm in this generation. Him and Adrian Peterson. Mean stiff arms. But he's dealing with a shoulder injury. Don't know when it happened. He did not practice yesterday. And I'm telling you right now, even though he's a rookie, if you lose another corner, fortunately you play the Giants, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. If you lose another corner, you are really pressing at that position. So hopefully Carson's okay and able to go. Mike McCarthy did say yesterday, tomorrow, meaning today, he'll give you a better idea. They both did what they need to do today in regards to rehab. We'll know more tomorrow on both of those guys, end quote from Mike McCarthy. So hopefully a speedy recovery from these two. And I know it's on the defense side of the ball, so it's like, hey, man, defense was trash anyway with them. You still need these bodies out there. You still need them. And Bell is not playing a lot of snaps defensively, and Carson's a rookie, so you're going to go through those growing pains. That is the roundup. That is the update. Hopefully, like I said, these guys are good to go. But I'm going to save the defensive talk with our analyst. We'll have it a little bit later. And really, most Cowboy things we'll talk to that person about. As you know, I'm teasing it. I'm not trying to give it away just quite yet. But I want to go right into my Sky Optics from this game. Again, for those who may be new, shouts out to you. Monday, mostly a raw emotional reaction. Tuesday, I try to simmer down the emotions, take a look at the film, and kind of give you what I saw via the film. And looking at it, these are some of the things that were concerning before I get to some of the things I liked, which not a whole lot, but some of the things I did like. 55 dropbacks in this game, Cowboys Nation. Cowboys ran motion on just 15 of those snaps. You might be wondering why this is the second or third week in a row. Can't remember. I keep bringing this up because these things help your offense. They just do. And not just regular motion, which the Cowboys do a whole lot of that. But when they actually put their mind to it, when they actually emphasize that type of pre-snap action, it works. Surprisingly, right? It works. Oh my God. You get a good identifier. You get a guy moving one way, and now this creates leverage another way. That goes right into the second part there. Play action. It was an issue. Usually play action works well for the Cowboys. 1 for 6. It's not a typo. You heard that right. 1 for 6 in play action. Look at me. The Baltimore Ravens were 13 of 13 giving up pass completions on play action heading into that game. The Cowboys were 1 for 6, and they only really ran 2 legitimate play action plays. Because you know what's going to go down as a play action? This is goofy. Dak Prescott's in shotgun. He's looking up, puts the ball out like this, pulls it back. That counts as a play action. They only did that 4 times in the game. Although that doesn't work that often anyway. I think that's goofy. But they ran 2 legitimate play action plays in this game. One was an immense success. The other was not. How is that? 2 teams. You could say Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. That's cool. But Gardner Minshew, who just lost to the Panthers, didn't have an incompletion on play action. And the difference is how they did it. And we're going to show you how the Cowboys did it and why that one play was successful. But that was concerning for me. I need a little bit more emphasis in how you're doing these things. Because, Cowboys just won some award of best analytical overhaul or something. I don't know. But you go and you're going to look at these analytics. You're going to look at these numbers. You're going to see 1 for 6. You're going to see or whatever type of play action number you see. But if you really fine tune it, put the magnifying glass on it, Dallas don't really run play action for real. They just sitting shotgun. Dak's looking up. Puts the ball, pulls it. It's not a real action to it. I'm going to show you why if you do that, it'll help. And then offensive line-wise, continues to be a messy offensive line in regards to run blocking. I'm at the point now, y'all. Why even watch the run game offensive film at this point? Why even watch it? It's the same duo. It's the duo blocking, combo blocking, but the Cowboys are awful at it. Awful. Everybody. Let me tell you. Everybody is bad at it. Well, the interior. Let me say that because a lot of the times, what I've noticed over the last few weeks, nobody is getting to that second level off of that duo. Zach Martin was bad at it. Tyler Smith was bad at it. There was a run. Again, we don't do anything special. Scheme is awful. And you don't got creative backs, but I mean, you got to help them. There was one specific play. If Zach peels off of this duo, this combo, and gets to Roquan Smith, maybe, just maybe, instead of a 4-yard gain, it's a 24-yard gain because there was nothing but space and opportunity back there. But I don't know what these guys are getting like Velcro to the defensive linemen. They're not getting to the second level. It's just bad in the run game. It's just pointless right now to really watch. In the pass game, if you guys remember in the preseason, the one thing I said I'm concerned about with Cooper Beebe that's going to it's growing pains you got to go through. It's going to take experience is he doesn't deal with the stunts well. Well, you can kick that on the outside too with your other rookie. These rookies are not really dealing with these stunts all that well, which look, it makes sense. Think about it. Cooper Beebe's playing a position he's never played consistently. Your left tackle was a right tackle and only had 13 starts on the right side, so he's having to learn different things on the left side. He may technically be better over there because he said, hey, I'm better on the left side. Sure, you may feel better, right? Your technique may feel better over there, but you haven't seen these things. You don't have any muscle memory of how to deal with these things. They are struggling in that sense, and I don't think teams are going to stop doing that. One of the sacks given up, Cooper Beebe notices the stunt late, and he can't get back in time, sack. Same thing on the other side. Another sack, I think, that happened on our side of their side of the 50. Tyler. The exchange doesn't go well. Notices it late. Pressure. So these are just things these rookies are going to go through. These growing pains. Unfortunately, you kind of dug yourself in this early 1-2 start that you're leaving yourself with no room for error. And I have that down here on the screen because that can be, you can use that for a lot of things. I think there is a misconception out there in the Twitter world or in fandom or blogosphere, whatever. When you look at this offense, and y'all know how I break it down. After you start from the top and move down, once you get to the players, it's okay. This may be an issue, but you have to overcome it. I say this all the time, right? That's pretty cut and dry. This is what we have to work with. You have to overcome it. But the way this thing is structured, it leaves you with no room for error. And when your defense is giving up an average, this is not an average of 243 rushing yards per game in the last 2 weeks, it leaves you with no room for error on the offensive side of the ball. When your wide receivers can't separate, it leaves you with no room for error. When you conceptually don't have anything that makes things easy on receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback, it leaves you with no room for error. And when you're asking the quarterback to go to the line of scrimmage and play chess every single play. In closing, it leaves you with no room for error. So when there is an error, it's big. Because you can't miss. Can't not do it. You can't afford to go 6 points in the first half. Cannot do it. You can't afford to fumble in that end zone, in that red zone. You ain't as explosive as you think, and your defense can't get a stop. You have no room for error. So let's go take a look into the film room real quick. Again, most of these plays I'm going to talk about are plays I want to see them build on top of. But this first play, is more so about the tight end and the route combination. So one of the first things you're going to notice watching this tape and probably moving forward is teams are starting to pay attention to Jake Ferguson, as they should. Jake Ferguson's that dude. What I like about this play is the condensed formation. When you're in a condensed formation like this, you can do so many different things. One of my favorite things I see out of this are a lot of over routes. You have on one side, and we saw the Saints do this to us. One side, you get a guy to stretch the field, which could stretch the safety, and on the other side, you got an over route coming. I love the condensed formation. I hate the route combination. I'm gonna let the play go, and you'll see exactly why I hate the route combination. So condensed formation, great. But if all you're gonna do, and shouts out to Vosh, hilarious in breaking it down, is just run down the field and turn around. You're doing nothing to stretch the defense. So here's the route combination on this play. Okay, it's a whole bunch of just hitch routes. 4 or 5 yards down, turn around. I don't like this for a number of different reasons. Okay, number one, teams are paying attention to Jake Ferguson. Look at this safety here. As soon as the ball is snapped, he's coming down to play this. Number two, if you're going to have a guy of Jake Ferguson's stature, use it to your advantage. If Jake is going to run something like this, which is going to force this safety downhill, why don't you run an over on the backside? You see the 49ers do this. Why don't you run a clear out route here? Put some stress on this guy. If you're not going to stress out this guy, then what's the point? And then for me, instead of this this makes no sense, because if you look at the progression and look at his feet, which I'll get to that in a second, you're never getting to this. Stop it right here. When the safety tees up like that, if you, again, send this guy on an over, send this guy deep, if he's going to cheat up and you got 3 guys playing on one, there's going to be a shot either here or a shot deep, and maybe you can even do something with him. And instead of him rolling out this way on a flare, send him out either on a Texas or just on a flat out. But let me show you what I hate about, what I'm starting to get an ick about, y'all. Y'all let me know if y'all notice this too. It's starting to become painfully obvious when there's a short drop back what the Cowboys are going to do. This offense, as we know, everything is tied to its feet for the passing game. The routes, the progressions, everything is tied to its feet. And Kurt Warner talks about pure progressions. We talked about pure progressions last year. Pure progression is, just take a look at Dak Prescott real quick. Pure progression. 1, 2, nothing there, come off. 3, if nothing's there, I'm coming here. 4, that's just pure progression. You need some of that, I get it. But if that's going to happen, one of the things that Kurt often talks about is you come off your reads extremely quick. And I've brought that up for a number of years with this offense. But what I hate about everything being so tied to the feet in these short dropbacks, they're easy to read. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, quick. This happens all the time. We're stopping right here. We're stopping 2 yards from the ball where it was snapped. There's no room for error. You have to get rid of this ball. They know you have to get rid of this ball. That's why the safety is firing downhill. I hate this now. I'm starting to hate it for real. I'd much rather you do a traditional drop back, but again, that's part of the traditional West Coast offense. I get it's needed and everything. It's just becoming easier. If you're a corner, we see this a lot. They'll do that short drop back slant. You can sit on it. You're starting to see teams sit on Jake Ferguson across the middle when they do that short drop back sit. Nothing's there, hitch. And I don't like the launch point. I just don't like a lot about it. I just don't. Now let's get to what I do like. Pre-snap, at snap motion, stack release. Jake Ferguson over here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get a motion. Ferg's going to stack the defender on his release. What does stack mean? Let's show you. Right here. I love these type of releases. We don't see this enough, but it causes, I don't want to say confusion. It just uses common sense against you. When Jake Ferguson, and let's actually go back here and take a look at this release. Then we'll break it down a little bit more. Take a look how Jake Ferguson is releasing outside at first and where our guy's going. Because normally what we do is we run a what? A slant flat, right? That's normally what we do. But Jake sets him up. Very crisp route at the top. Easy pitch and catch and get some yak. That's, to me, how you use Jake Ferguson. When you got a guy who is dominant down the field, who is dominant as a yak offensive player, that's how you get him the ball. Now, let's break it down a little bit more and tell you why this motion is important. It's an identifier. Take a look at Dak Prescott when this motion happens and look where he's looking and look what the safety's doing. So the safety, both of them are kind of in a too high look. They're not that far back, but they're even. When Jake motions, the safety's creeping up. Look where Dak's eyes are. He's noticing that this safety is creeping up. That's an identifier. Another identifier is this linebacker does not bump down. If this linebacker is not bumping down, one of two things are finna happen. He's about to blitz, and he's picking up Jake Ferguson. Or maybe he blitzes, and he's going to fill. What happens? He blitzes. Dak knows this. He sees this. By the way, great pickup by Ezekiel Elliott. Gets enough. Got the stack release. Pitch and catch, man. Good stuff right there. Want to see more of that with Jake Ferguson, right? He can get some yak. This might be the most creative play of the day, Cowboys Nation. By the way, I want to make sure I didn't just do all this and y'all can't hear me. My bad. We good here? Okay, we good here. This might be the most creative play. Where does it come out of? Pre-snap, at snap, with post-snap action. All right, let's break it down. Let me let it play run, then we're going to break it down. This was one of the few times they ran a real play-action play here that got open for completion. So there's the play. Let's see how it gets done. First, we get the pre-snap motion. That's clearly going to identify that this is man alignment or man coverage. If the alignment didn't tell you, this will tell you, right? Okay, he's going to follow Tolbert. Then we're going to get the post-snap action. Y'all know how I often talk about run action with the play? Like play action to me, this is what real play action looks like. Offensive linemen are selling this run. And that's going to cause the linebackers to sell on the run. That's going to cause the defensive line to sell out on the run. Not only do you have the run action, but peep CD Lamb with the post-snap action behind. One of the things the Cowboys have struggled with these naked boots, they've been awful with them because they have nobody to isolate, to put this defender in the blender. Bars. So what this defender normally does, he just fires down at Dak, and now Dak has to make this weird throw over the top. You hope that he does. You hope that whoever the offense, the tight end, whomever, gets enough space, and it works sometimes it doesn't. But because CD is running this post-snap action behind the line of scrimmage, this defender clears. And when that defender clears, it gives Dak all this room. Now, here's where it gets real fun. On this type of play, 9 times out of 10, who's running a deep route? Usually Ferg, right? Usually you see Ferg going. And who's blocking? Normally you will see Hunter Lipke selling the block. They flip it here. And I love this. Hunter Lipke's actually going to do the deep route with Jake Ferguson blocking. And watch what it does to Kyle Hamilton. Hamilton knows this. Hamilton knows Jake Ferguson's the guy that runs these things. Watch how Kyle Hamilton plays this, and it trips him up quite literally. Peep game. Hamilton is ready to take on the block. Look at his head. He's not ready to defend a pass. He's ready to take on a block. And when he realizes he ain't blocking, whoops. Whoops. Now, this is where it could get fun. I'm going to stop this play at the top. I understand that this play is designed to essentially be an out or a corner, whatever you want to call it. He's just running his guy off. But if the Cowboys had kind of broke tendency here, and this is a high-low read. If you don't know what a high-low read is, he's clearing. This is my high read, and this is going to be my low read. If this defender bit, I'm going to throw it here. If he doesn't, I'm going to wait this route out, and there should be open space here, and that's what happens. But if they break tendency here, and instead of doing a normal high-low read, we sell this out route and break this thing back, which he might not even need it to, we're potentially talking about 6. If not 6, maybe something bigger here. And if you really let the play go, I think Dak is expecting him to break this, but it doesn't happen. I get it doesn't happen. Hunter Lipke, you're like, I ain't messing this thing up. And nor should he run the route. But just imagine if they broke that tendency. And the Raiders gave you the blueprint. We talked about this. The Raiders gave you the blueprint. Here we go. Pre-snap motion, at snap action, play action. Very similar type of play. Very similar type of play. What is going to look like a normal rollout with a high and usually low read, deep guy. They both fake this over and come back wide open. The Cowboys may want to take a look at potentially doing something like that against these type of teams. They may want to do that because that could be a play that's there. Shouts out to Hunter Lipke. Great catch. Great ball placement as well. Okay. 3rd and 4. This is a great defensive call, by the way. Great defensive call. 3rd and 4. Teams know that you're likely going to try to hit one of your tight ends here in the middle. Cowboys love this double slant type situation. That's what they love to do. So instead of just giving them all day, again, this is in the 4th quarter too, by the way, where the Cowboys are down 16. So a lot of people were saying there was prevent defense. Nothing about this is prevent. They continue to throw different looks at you, changing the picture and blitzing you. So the Baltimore Ravens are going to show an all-out blitz here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. All-out blitz, right? They're actually going to drop 2 big men. Those 2 big men are taking away this action here. And we're blitzing this corner. This is a great call. This call requires you to beat your defender because you're not going to have enough time to come back to CD Lamb on this deep route. By the time the pressure gets there, it's a wrap. It's over. Okay? This is covered back here. This is the play. This is the throw. I need you, Jalen Brooks, to be physical at the top here and get open. And Jalen Brooks does it. Gets open, good delivery, and gets some yak. But it was a great call by the defense. A better release from 83. All right, this play is a staple play for the Cowboys, for Mike McCarthy at the very least. They love to run this kind of double slant look with a flag route behind it. Love to do it. What we're trying to do, we're trying to put this guy in a bind. We're going to read him here, and we're going to read him here, and we're going to play from inside out. They kind of quasi do that. You're going to see Jake run kind of this whip route, but I think what Jake is doing is actually reading this linebacker And then you're going to have Tolbert, again, run the slant, and you're going to have the flag, the 7 behind it. But here's what's interesting. I feel like Jalen Tolbert rerouted here, and I'll let the play go, and I'll show you what I mean. Staple play. This is a staple play for the Cowboys. It usually gets Brandon Cooks wide open. But peep this real quick. First of all, I think this is great patience from Tolbert and great awareness from Tolbert. As this play goes, normally, we're just going to continue to run this slant. And Roquan Smith is running with him. But peep game. Tolbert actually fans off of that. He doesn't flatten out, fades up into more of a post, and gets wide open. Now, peep Roquan Smith. This is where I think there might have been a bit of a busted coverage. That's not my problem. I think the safety absolutely read this completely wrong. But again, that's not my problem. His responsibility here, in my opinion, is to defend the middle of this field, especially when you look at how this cornerback is playing. He is giving up the inside so he can defend this 7 route, and he does. He defends it right. I mean, he's here. There is no 7 here unless it's an absolute ridiculous throw, right? This is defended down here. Roquan Smith is playing the under. The safety is supposed to play over top, but this is great patience, great, I think, stress by Brandon Cooks, stressing and pressing this safety, making him force him above, and boom, you get wide open. Details. Word of the day, right? And then finally, want to give a shout out here to Turpin. Kevontae Turpin, I thought this was a good route. It might seem like nothing, but I feel like he set his guy up well. And this is kind of taking advantage of not forcing it to 88 with some good ball placement. They're going to not go strong side. If you go from left to right, it's a 2-by-3 formation with, this is CeeDee Lamb here. By the way, you'll notice in these touchdowns, CeeDee Lamb is not getting the ball. CeeDee Lamb here, single high. Look, anytime CeeDee Lamb is anywhere and there's a single high, the safety is 9 times out of 10 going to hedge towards CeeDee Lamb. That's just the way it's going to go. So at the snap, that's exactly what the safety does. Well, this is a dummy call. I know it's a dummy call because you don't see anybody out here really doing anything. It's a dummy call. At the snap, safety, that's all you really need to see is hedging. And take a look as we run this back down here at Kevontae Turpin. Turpin's going to press right there. He's going to sail this out, turns the hips of this corner. He does bend it back, but if he doesn't bend it back, he might have ran himself into trouble. So he bends it back. Great back shoulder throw here. Great ball location from Turp. Keeps his feet in bounds. Good stuff. I mean, you can see it a lot better on this side here. Really good stuff there. Great ball location. But this is likely because if this safety beelines this way immediately, maybe that throw becomes a bit more difficult, but he doesn't. Great spot. Good catch. Again, Kevontae Turpin, throw the ball to him downfield. I have not seen him drop the ball yet. Get him involved downfield. And this was right after Brandon Cooks sold, in my opinion. So here, these are just some plays. I get it. It's not a fun, positive week given what happened. But these are some plays I feel like the Cowboys should and could build upon. And I hate to say it because last year was spam Lamb, but it was the how they spammed Lamb. In this game, I don't think there was a whole lot getting Lamb the ball creatively. There's a play that's going around on Twitter where Dak is looking for whatever reason, not whatever reason, I get it, Ferguson's Ferguson, but he doesn't go out to Lamb on the outside. He's running this deep comeback route. Instead, he goes to Jake Ferguson, right? That's a situation where, yeah, he could have spammed Lammy's one-on-one over there. But again, the how, nothing about that is really special. Get Lamb involved where he can be special. Yards after the catch, maybe in the red zone. Hell, screens. We saw the fake screen to a tight end or a receiver, and the CeeDee Lamb, busting up a cover too. There's no creative ways we're getting CeeDee Lamb the ball except for end of the rounds and a bunch of comebacks and whatnot. That's all we're really doing. But in that second half, you heard Dak talk about Oh man, you can't dwell on these things. You have to move forward. I think he got to a point in that fourth quarter was like, look, bro, if you're doing your job, I'll throw it to you. But I'm not going to keep going to if you're going to keep dropping the ball and then crying about it. So the last 2 or 3 drives, 90% or more of those drives were done without really the aid of CD Lamb. I don't want that to continue to happen, right? I want him to be involved, but I need him to get him to be more involved up here. I need him to be more involved up here. So there you have it, Cowboys Nation, dropping the film study on some of the things I did like there. Let me make sure I get my... I got you. One second, Cowboys Nation. 351-999-33787. My bad. I got so caught up in the film, I didn't even peep this text. Come on in. Let's read some of y'all in the chat real quick before we get going. Okay, Oscar talking about the draft. All right, cool. Turp need more time on the field. I'm just saying, man. I feel like if they can involve Kevontae Turpin and Brandon Cooks in the manners that they are good at, and not just run a straight 9 and just run a comeback route, but get these guys on overs, get these guys running stop and goes, out and up, like something more creative than what we saw for the majority of that game. But let's wrap to one of my favorites. Breaking down this thing. Good morning, 2i in the sky.
Good morning, man.
How you doing? I know you're on your way to DLLS. Shouts out to you guys doing fantastic work, but I appreciate you coming through and being able to kind of talk some shop with me.
Yeah, man. First of all, I normally struggle with the early, but, the early got me because I got a new job.
Well, yeah, you ain't got no choice now. Get your ass up. I ain't got no choice now, so
I'm a tad bit more awake than I normally am when I call.
I actually can hear it. I can hear the coffee flowing through your veins.
You can hear my voice?
I can hear it, yeah. You're a lot more chipper. You're a lot more chipper today. I'm going to need that. I'm going to need that chipperness because it's been a doom and gloomy type of situation coming off that terrible game on Sunday. And you had the luxury to speak with McCarthy yesterday, both, I believe, on the record and off the record. Look, we're not going to talk about specifics. I tried to get you to get some out of him, but McCarthy being a little bit sensitive right now. By the way, did y'all see Nick Harris get cussed out? Did you see that?
Yeah, I don't know what he do that to Nick a lot. And Nick be asking good questions, and that's the thing about these coaches, man, and that's why, like, when I do go to pressers, I'm very careful with my phrasing because it is possible to critique and to ask questions in a way that doesn't seem threatening to them or seems like you're trying to one-up them or embarrass them. There's a way to phrase questions. I kind of figured it out a bit last year with Mike McCarthy just to get some football questions answered.
Yeah.
But quite honestly, he wasn't in the mood yesterday. Nick
asked a question. Mike McCarthy said,
or here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the f*** up.
And
he told Nick, you being dramatic, Nick. Like, damn, coach, he just answered the question, coach.
Twin, they and rightfully so. Like, and I mean, him not really being super excited to talk to the media is to be expected. This team isn't performing to the level that I'm sure they expected, and clearly what we expected, but also too, I critique these coaches pretty hard as far as I heard some of your critiques a second ago, and the route concepts as far as, getting Turpin involved. I think we got to get him more involved in Brandon Cooks. I mean, because the thing is like, you got what you got right now. Like, I don't see a whole bunch changing from an offensive standpoint, besides shuffling the offensive line, but we're not going to go there. But I don't see a lot changing from an offensive standpoint as far as your personnel. So you got to work with what you have, and it's crazy because we look at the Chiefs and these teams that have these speed threats. You got a couple of them, and I know a lot of people think that Brandon Cooks is washed and some things like that. I don't necessarily think he's washed. I just don't think that his usage is conducive to what he does well. And even if he has lost a step, do the things that work well for him since he has lost a step. But I mean, if you want to talk about his route running and maybe his breaks not him coming out of his breaks, his breaks not being so clean, or his releases maybe not being as tight, fine.
I don't agree with that, though. I think Brandon Cooks...
I don't agree with it either.
I think he's one of the few that know how to use... We talked about this behind the scenes. He's one of the few that knows how to use his speed at the top of his stem. Like, he can threaten you at the top, so you got to give him routes in that way. Give him overs. Give him post corners, corner posts. Give him things to where the defender has to think, not, all right, Brandon, run a 9 route. Just run straight down the field. First of all, he's not 6'3" and runs a 4.3. It's one thing if he's 6'3" and does that, because now a lot of the times you'll notice is Dak will put it in the vicinity. He just ain't big. He's 5'9", 5'10". He doesn't have the reach to go get it or have a jump ball. So you got to put him in situations where he can use his speed and his route running ability to threaten these guys. But I digress.
No. You're right, and I mean. We talked about it on our show on DLLS. We talked about the catch radius and things like that, and I think all of that is relevant. But when I think about a Brandon Cooks, and again, I think Tyler Lockett is extremely underrated, but I think you could use him in the ways that the Seahawks even use Tyler Lockett. He's effective almost every year. They do a lot with him, and I'm just like, I don't understand it. And even so, I mean, like we've seen in the NFL, a lot of the offenses that are successful, I mean, a lot of the ones that beat you respectfully, they're doing crossers. They're doing, they're doing, and so they're doing posts and they're doing stuff to cause overs and stuff to cause conflict, as you say, for the defense, and we're just not seeing that right now. And here, listen. I mean, I think we talked about on Girl Talk, Boys Talk. What would you change? What would you fix? If you had to fix something about this offense immediately, what would you change? I think a lot of it starts with the offensive line, Sky. I mean, yeah, we can talk about the concepts and things like that, but this stuff isn't getting blocked up well enough, and this offensive line is not operating well in the run game. I know the running backs aren't exciting or whatever, but it's also a lot of the ineptitudes currently. Okay, y'all honking. A lot of the ineptitude is coming from what is happening with your offensive line, whether it be penalties. I mean, it was drive killing penalties from your offense in general, but from your offensive line as well in this game. You could have been in a better position, but yeah, I mean, you're getting a lot from your tackles. Like, you got a young guy in Guyton who we expected to have some struggles. And then we have Terrence Steele, who, and I hate to say it, Scott, it's hard to say, because I love me some Terrence Steele, but it just hasn't been good enough, bro.
Yeah, Cuzzo.
It just hasn't been good.
You know what's crazy?
And
Cuzzo been better. He has a better start than last year, but it still ain't good enough, like you said. Like it's not good enough right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, a player come back from an ACL, man. Like, I don't know all of what it feels like. I do think that we look at ACLs now because these guys are recovering so quickly. Man, like, it's a serious injury, and it can change players. So I just think, like, I don't know what is going to happen there, because you don't have a right tackle. You heard that pause right there. You don't have a right tackle that is an adequate backup at this point that is proven in any way.
I don't think we're there just yet now. Because look,
I don't think we're there.
Yeah, I don't.
But
think
I
we're
think
even...
it's something. If you don't win against the Giants, you might be there.
Well, if you don't win against the Giants, how does that person play though? Right. That's because if you.
I just think it puts you in a tough spot. I mean, you look at Philly right now, and you look at the wins that they've gotten. They look like, although there's some discombobulation at times, they still have enough weapons and stuff to kind of mask that stuff. So they're going to win games.
My apologies. I mean, I don't think we're there with if we lose, what if your right tackle plays well? You know what I'm saying? I don't think we're there yet. And to be honest with you, I threw a lot of this line off the bridge prior to the fourth quarter and the second half. I thought they played a lot better in the second half in the sense of, or the fourth quarter, I should say, and that right side played a lot better in the second half in general. But it's still early in that game was not good enough. And moving forward, if you can't run, teams are just pinning their ears back, man. You're not doing yourself any service helping your line out if they can just pin their ears back and we know we're going to rush the passer.
I agree. And also, too, I mean, when you talk about, and the reason why I brought up the Terrence Steele thing is you can have, you know, a young rookie tackle trying to figure things out, but you can't have two tackles struggling as bad as they've been struggling. But also, too, I mean, I went back and watched that game. I tweeted it last night. Listen, the interior wasn't great either. It looks clunky with them as well. There's some communication errors on a couple of stunts.
I was going to say, man, the whole line has not been good, man. It
just hasn't been good. There's no cohesiveness. I don't know what the plan is. And to your point, Sky, about teams being able to pin their ears back and you not running the ball, running the ball serves multiple purposes, man. And when you're talking about guys want to just pin their ears back, guess what? These guys be not tired in the fourth quarter, not tired in the third quarter, because you're not sustaining drives and you're not really taking it to these defensive ends to where they could feel a little nicked up towards the end of the game. Maybe they're not as effective and stuff like that. And so you mentioned, you know, trying to help out the offensive line. I think there are things you can do. I think there's things you can do to move the pocket and to get them in better position if they're struggling, because right now you're asking them to just play straight up, every play, straight up, nose on nose. And, I mean, we even see some of the good offensive lines in the NFL not do that. I mean, I just think overall, like, there's not much being done, Sky, to really help this offense move along. And I don't know if that's personnel or if that is just scheme, because I think you do have.
It's probably never one thing. It's maybe a combination.
What'd you say?
Maybe a combination. And I don't think it's ever just one thing, but I think there's room for both of these things to improve.
Facts. But yeah, I mean, do you think that what we saw from Turpin and Tolbert in that game is helpful at all moving forward?
Oh, I hope. I mean, I hope they look at this thing and say, well, for Tolbert, I don't think you're ever really game planning for Tolbert. I think you just need Tolbert to, when your number's called, make the catch, right? Like, secure the rock. I do think you should try to get things involved with Turpin because he has that kind of game-breaking type of speed. So maybe for Tolbert, I just think he just continues to play his role because this offense, it seems like it's not really designing things for guys. And we talk about concepts and things like that. It's just saying, hey, this is what you do. Go out here. You clear out this. You run your slant. You run this hitch. A lot of come back to me type of routes and secure the catch. And Dak, you have to make sure every single play you get up here, you change it here and there, and you got to make the right read but the right adjustment every single time. I don't think that's sustainable too. I think you need to have a foundation to where you can line up and you don't have to go do all this herky-jerky stuff every single play and somebody can be open.
Yeah, and I mean, and I asked Mike McCarthy about it. I was I was nervous to ask the question because I knew he wasn't really feeling nothing yesterday, so he didn't really give me much of anything. However, my question to him was, I mean, Chrissy Scales on Girl Talk, Boys Talk, she mentioned to us that, you know, she's down there on the sideline, and they really let the Ravens DBs play. They already are a scrappy bunch, but there's a lot of hand grabbing. There was a lot of stuff going on down there, and I don't think that our receivers really responded well to the level of physicality they were playing with, and that's something we've seen before. Your point, if that is happening, if the refs are letting guys play and your guys are struggling to separate, you gotta find ways to get them separation.
Right. Stacks,
and
bunches, pick plays. Like, where is that?
Yeah, and that's what I was asking about in regard to that. And so I don't know, man. I'm not gonna say I'm indifferent about what's going on. I'm trying to stay level-headed because I understand it is very early in the season. Now, the defense, we're gonna get to them. That's a totally different story. But as far as the offense's cohesiveness, I think the offensive line trying to figure things out has a lot to do with it, and they just don't look together. I mean, even looking at some of their combo and duo blocks, some of the things they did really well in camp, and we saw them have some success with. It's just not clean, Sky.
No.
It's just not clean right now.
Zach Martin's not getting to the second level. That's scary.
Which is what makes me more sick, because I came into this season thinking you got two athletic tackles, not the most powerful, but two athletic tackles, and you have an interior that is a good mix of power with some athleticism through all of them, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, like, you should be able to get to the second level better this year, and we just haven't seen it. And it's so damning for your offense when you can't run the ball effectively. It puts a lot of stress on the quarterback, and to your point, I mean, these DBs sit up that you have a guy that is going to threaten over the top, and they don't believe that you're going to be able to run. I mean, you can't run the ball against light boxes right now, Sky. It's a problem.
Last thing offensively, were you able to speak to McCarthy about Dalvin Cook? Because it looked like Dalvin Cook was on Twitter, and he all he did was post the number 4. But that to me sounds like, or looks like, he might be getting called up. Do you think Cooks gets the call up on Thursday?
I don't know. I say I don't, because here's my thing, Sky. Is he going to look any better with this offensive line?
Oh, that's a different discussion, right? At this point, okay, two different discussions. One, just will he get called up? That's one point, right? The other point is, will it make a difference? That's a valid question. I don't think he's just going to automatically change your run game, because I think the issues are rooted within your philosophy. And then it goes down to, well, do you have the backs to really be able to get busy within that kind of bad philosophy? No. But you're at a point you got to throw things at the wall, right? And,
I mean, I get it.
And Cook is the next guy up. Look, Hunter Lipke, you might got to start getting him involved too. And then maybe Rico Dowdle, no offense to the Ezekiel Elliott thing, can continue to get him involved maybe in the red zone, short yardage. But I think right now, Lipke, see what Cook has to offer, and Rico kind of are your guys that can move a little bit, wiggle a little bit, make something happen, because you're not blocking it up that great. So you got to get guys that can make something happen at the line of scrimmage.
Out of nothing. Right.
And that's a tough task. That's a tough task. It's not fair on the offense. It's not fair on the running backs. It's not fair on the quarterback. But that's the reality we live in.
No, I agree. And here's another thing, Sky. I mean, you mentioned Lipke. It's weird to me. That part is weird to me, because Mike McCarthy has expressed his somewhat infatuation with Hunter Lipke. Get him involved, man. Like, I mean, the few plays we saw from him last week, I was like, heck yeah, dude. Like, let's get involved more. But then also, too, you mentioned Rico Dowdle. I also think that something that comes to play with Dalvin Cook is him learning the pass protection, and him learning, the alignments. And I don't think there's a blockage or anything. I think it's just a natural making sure that he understands.
Gotcha.
Especially since we're seeing, teams. I mean, especially since you are having to help out your tackles, right? You know what I'm saying? Especially since you are having to do things to help these guys out. And I think that's why, I personally think that is why we're seeing Ezekiel Elliott, and we're also seeing Lipke.
We saw a lot of Lipke.
Yeah, I think we're seeing those guys, seeing Lipke specifically, is because, I think they understand that they need some help along this offensive line, so that plays part of it. But yeah, with Dalvin Cook, I mean, we'll see. I think looking at him in comparison to, I looked at some of his games from last year and stuff, and just looking at him in comparison to what we've kind of had, I do think that he still has some cutback ability. He's not going to make a lot of guys miss, but I do think his vision is still good as well. So let's just see if he can find anything behind that offensive line. But, Sky, this offensive line got to play better in general. They just do.
Yeah.
They just do.
And I don't think they're going to be aided anytime soon, by scheme or calls. They're just, because you see it, they're literally telling them combo block and duo. There's no wide zone. And a trap. They're terrible at trapping. Tyler Smith has been awful since he's been in the league at these trap blocks. He does a good one once in a while. I don't even know if it's completely him. They can't. They're just not in sync that way. So these guys are just going to have to just nut up. They're just going to have to bring their hard hats and be better than the guys in front of them, because that's basically what Solari's asking them, and that's a totally different discussion too. I don't know that Solari's techniques are even good for this group, because we're not seeing any improvements technique wise, in my opinion. I feel like we're seeing regression that way, and these guys are just out here surviving. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Right, and then when you talk about, you're getting. Here's another thing too. Is like, people know about your pass rush. They think your pass rush is good. You know what they're doing to counter that? Tosses, screens, things you're not going to counter. Like, the lack of screen game within this offense for years. It's been years at this point. It's one of the easiest ways to get guys in space. I mean, we've seen Philly do it. They do tight end screens. We have a guy like Ferg that is definitely good in the open field. Yeah, man.
Easy buttons.
And obviously you got Lippy. There's things that you can, you call them easy buttons. There's things you can do to get the defense to calm down a little bit and to get your mostly athletic offensive line out of space, allow them to do things. I don't know, man. I just think, I'm tired of them going into these big games and not looking prepared. And then to hear Mike McCarthy come out and say that they didn't practice well. How? How?
Like, for him to come out and admit.
Not practice well, guy. Like, how do you get
blows my
like
mind.
that?
I don't know how. Now again, you probably can't make a drastic change this week.
Like, how disappointing is that to hear?
Yeah. How, as a ownership, do you listen to your coach basically say, "Hey, man, we sometimes we don't prepare well and we play well. Sometimes we prepare well and we don't." What do you mean? You should always be preparing well. And then he goes and says, "Well, we played how we prepared." What, sir? I'm not hearing that nonsense. To stay there, coach wise. Right now, on the opposite side of the ball, you are in a very weird situation. Okay, you've got a coach who historically has been proven to be good against the run, who's been proven to get really the most out of his guys. And the Cowboys are not lacking, in my opinion, for talented guys on the defense. Now, maybe on the interior, that's a different discussion. But right now, these guys seem more disjointed than the Cowboys' offensive line. You got all your players talk about details, and being you can see the frustration, and not trying to name drop, but the film can show you which specific players are doing whatever. And it's they're getting frustrated. I don't know how Mike Zimmer is feeling on this, behind the scenes. Old Mike Zimmer, we would see how he was feeling on the sidelines. And I'm just like, I don't know how much longer. If this continues to happen, we get 4 or 5 weeks in and you're still giving up 150, 160, 170, 200 yards rushing. When do you make a drastic decision, whether it be on the field or whether it be with the coaching? But I don't have an answer for historic proportions of how bad you've been defensively. What is your take on the locker room right now?
Oh, man. I got a couple things. Number one, I posed a question on DLLS because I just was like, it can't be. I mean, and it's hard, right? Because you ask yourself, like, not having DTs that are playing well, it is a trickle-down effect to an extent. It is. Obviously, it puts a lot of stress on your linebackers. It's obviously, it can definitely kind of veer to the left and right to your edges with them not feeling confident and stuff like that. I think we saw them play out of place quite a bit on Sunday and the week before. And then obviously it does put stress on your secondary because guys aren't getting touched until they're 10 yards down the field. So it's like, okay, I get from that side of things that maybe not having adequate DT play is a reason why these guys are playing the hero ball, as we like to say. But I will say, you know, when Zimmer got here, you know, all the players were talking about, you know, the system and how they loved it and how it was different and how you know, firm he is and how his standard is his standard and they want to be disciplined and things like that. And let me tell you something, man. And I've talked to several scouts about this. I've talked to other coaches about this. Is that I don't know how receptive that this locker room has been to such a big change in temperament from their coaching.
Oh no, Tuai. Do you know what that sound? Oh no. Sorry.
No. Listen. These are my own thoughts. These are my own thoughts. These are my own opinions.
Right, but you know what that sounds like? If you remember, Mike Nolan. That sounds like Mike Nolan all over again. Okay, I hope it's not that drastic.
Yeah,
I hope it's just they're just trying to sift through some things. But when that happened with this team, you saw guys out there not trusting in the system and doing their own thing, and we heard that's what happened this past week. And you had a historically bad defense.
Well, that's and I'm only saying that because it's like, I'll describe it like this. Dan Quinn was the cool auntie that comes on holidays, brings all your favorite snacks, get you them toys that your mom and your daddy won't buy you. And Zimmer is like, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. The crime.
I better leave Tuai alone. Oh, they ain't coming for you? Oh, my bad.
No. And Zimmer is that uncle that's gonna buy you socks. And I think
so DQ gonna give you $20, and Zimmer gonna pat you on the head and say, "Good job, buddy."
I'm being honest with you, man. I think that is a big jump in coaching temperament. Even when you talk about Zagina and how hard he coaches that defensive line and his temperament and the amount of, he ought to be on South Park. I mean, like just the intensity of this new coaching staff. I don't know. I know guys want to be coached hard. Like, of course they do. But what I'm saying is when you go from a Dan Quinn that was very much so like, let's talk about it. Let's, you know, like hat backwards, put his arm around you, hang out, whatever. And I'm not saying these coaches aren't kind or gentle or whatever, because they're like that. They care about the players. What I'm saying is that I wonder if the difference in how they approach things is maybe taking some time for the players to adjust to. And also, too, I do think that guys do feel the pressure when you talk about how Zimmer is like, if you're not getting it right, I'm going to pull you. That's a different type of, you know, stress to be under.
Good.
Like knowing like
our favorite gift right now. Good.
I think it's good too, but it is a big change. I believe so. I mean, and again, like when you look at what they're doing defensively, like I wanted to ask Zimmer, like, what was because the RPO tore them up this week, and let's just be real here. Lamar is a different type of beast when it comes to the RPO. He puts so much stress on your edges to contain, but also your interior, but it's really your edges. And I felt like I wanted to know what their plan was, because it felt like, I'm like, are y'all supposed to funnel? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, what are y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was the actual plan to keep him contained?
What I noticed was, and not only just Lamar, right? The Ravens. I know you still got a few minutes, or you got to get in there at 10. I want to make sure I get you out. Are you good?
Mm-hmm. No, you're good, dude. No,
okay.
I don't have to be on my show till 11. Like, they know I'm talking.
Okay, bet.
They know I'm on.
So two things about that. Yes, Lamar himself causes an issue. But what the Ravens do, Todd Monken does, he leans into that creatively, right? So he doesn't just run typical RPOs. There was one play, or not RPOs, but read option or zone split zone reads. There was one play. I mean, what a fantastic damn call to get Justice Hill like a 13-yard run, where it looked like the QB power. So he had both,
Right.
I think, the right tackle, right guard pulling, and he had, I think it was Justice Hill on the read option. But if you go look at it, normally they're running the power, and you have everybody flowing down, and boom, he's gone. So they put a razzle dazzle to it in a sense. And I say razzle dazzle, I don't mean like a whole bunch of crazy window dressing, but you don't need a whole lot when you have the threat of Lamar Jackson in general. The second part was I noticed that they were doing the scrape exchange technique, which is not a bad idea in theory.
It's
right?
not, but the
you
thing about the defense,
go ahead.
you got to do your job.
There you go.
Like,
There you go. You cannot mess up.
If you don't do the thing about Zimmer's system, and I was talking to my guy DMV about it. I'm sure you're cool with DMV too, but I'm talking to him, and we're like, yes, Zimmer's system is not like. Here's the thing about Dan Quinn's system. Even so, there typically always was a robber. There typically always was a guy to clean up. And it was Donovan Wilson most of the time. To clean up, if something went wrong, somebody missed assignment, he was like cleanup duty. Zimmer's system doesn't have that as much because his safeties, if the safeties are coming down to fill, sure, sometimes they do that in this system. But most of the time, he wants his safeties to man that backfield, and he wants his front seven to do the work. He wants them to do the work. I'm not saying he doesn't value the strong safety, but the strong safety is not something that he uses. I mean, like, he doesn't use it as much as what a Dan. Yeah, he values the strong. I think he values the strong. He just uses it differently than what Dan Quinn does.
I don't think you've been able to truly see what Mike Zimmer brings to the table the last two games because you can't stop the run. Like Mike Zimmer is a guy that has a lot of great looks and does different things schematically from a pass rush standpoint and a pass defense standpoint in the back end that he does with his safeties. You talk about the robbers rocking the safeties. That's what he loves to do. But you can't do that when teams aren't throwing the ball. They throw the ball an average of 15 times a game on you the last 2 weeks because they're running on you. But what I want to point out, and you know, I'm glad there were some very smart people on Twitter pointing this out because you don't really understand it until you go back and say, oh, this is what they were doing. It looks to the naked eye and to the naked viewer that these defensive ends are just crashing inside. And that's what a lot of people are saying, right? But the responsibility in this game was to do that. And it's called a scrape exchange. Now, did they play the contain perfectly every time, especially when there's like a regular RPO or read option, what have you? No. But when you saw a Micah or a D-Law crashing in, I hate to use the word crash, but playing their responsibility inside, the exchange is the linebacker playing outside. I actually don't hate that because it takes away the thinking. The problem is
I don't hate it either.
The problem with the read option is it wants your defensive end to think. So if your defensive end has to think and is unsure, they can't make a play anywhere. Where the defensive coordinator is taking that away, and you saw them actually do these type of exchanges well in the second half. The first half, absolutely not. The first 15 for the Ravens was so damn good, so crisp. It was very simplistic things that were tripping these dudes up. I love you, DeMarvion Overshown. You saw him late on some things. Malik Hooker, play action. They do the play action boot, 30 yards to the tight end because we're all flowing down one side. It was very basic things that was beating you there. But the actual defensive ends, I just want to clarify this, 9 times out of 10 when you saw them just beelining down, watch the linebacker hooking over the top. That's responsibility. I like it in theory, but if you're not going to do your responsibility behind, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you have to make your play when it's your opportunity to make your play. And we just saw guys miss tackles. We saw guys take bad angles. And that resulted in those bigger plays. To your point, Sky. Also, too, thank you for breaking down the scrape method because I definitely am still learning that side of things. Like I had a couple people break it down to me this weekend and even during the week, so I can understand it in depth and like what everyone's responsibility is. And to your point about the DNs, yeah, it does look like they're getting pinned inside. But to your point, that's what they're supposed to. They're supposed to crash inside. And then the linebackers are supposed to come fill. Or the safety.
Or the safety. Yeah, and that's the other thing. You know, they played a lot of, obviously, you know, single high, but he never, in my opinion, you can do that if you're playing kind of like a 4-3 over type of situation where that safety is now playing as an overhang defender on the edges. But it felt like it was just the safety when they were playing single high was just kind of just around, right? And then taking bad angles. Donald took a couple bad angles. Malik took some bad angles. The corners took bad angles and didn't want no smoke. It just wasn't. I just think the Ravens got the best of you, both schematically and physically, and then obviously put you in a blender to where some of your best guys were trying to figure out what the hell was going on.
Yeah, it took them to your point, it did take them some time to get information and to figure out what was going on. And like you said, we see them perform better in that fourth quarter, at the end of that third quarter, going into that fourth quarter. But that to me goes back into how they practice. And like if Mike McCarthy is saying like, okay, well, we didn't practice well, yeah, we saw that. We saw it take you guys time to get information. And even on the offensive side, felt like it took them some time to get some information about, what that defense was doing and how to attack it. I will say one thing, it was definitely nice to see Ferg back. I hope that he's healthy and he's fine. It sounds like he fell on a ball because I saw, he ran off. Yeah, Ferg, yeah. We saw he ran off the field.
He hurt his shoulder.
Yeah, I thought it was his shoulder, and apparently he just fell on a ball, and it was uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But with him, I think it was cool having him back and seeing him attack the middle of the field. He's still a threat there. He's still a threat there, and that was something you missed last week. You weren't able to attack the middle of the field at all, and it didn't help out your DBs in the slightest on the outside. Yeah,
I wish they would be more creative in getting him the ball. There was a play I showed where they did a stack release with him and CeeDee Lamb. Do more of that, man. Take advantage of also teams looking at Ferguson as a guy and maybe sending something over top. You see the Niners do this all the time, They know teams are going to be focused on trying to stop George Kittle, and next thing you know, Brandon Ayuk or Jawan Jennings is right in the window behind it. I don't know. I just feel like we need to do more.
No, like you definitely have to use Ferguson as a threat. Like he has to be a part of every plan, and we saw that last year. I mean, the Cowboys had a lot of success in 11 personnel last year with Ferg, CD, and Brandon Cooks, and sometimes Tolbert, and that's just what they ran because that's how they found success. I also just think these tight ends in general, the whole room needs to block better as well. Like, because we talk about getting to the second level and stuff like that. Like, I understand this offensive line has to play better, but anybody that is involved in the run game just needs to be more sound with their assignments because it just feels like it just feels like if you leave if one person misses a block, a key block, then it's all going to hell at this point.
No room for error.
I do have a question for you. Mm-hmm. As far as the linebacker rotation, are you surprised with what's happening with Damone Clark and him not being as involved, especially given the camp that he had? Are you surprised that he's not involved? Because I felt like he made some plays in that fourth when they put him in there.
I'm not surprised because Damone Clark doesn't have a sponsor here. Right?
That's fair.
I thought he was going to be the guy they start off with, but I didn't think it was going to take long for Demo to put himself square in the picture. And it didn't take long, did it? The first very week. And then obviously Maris Leofau, when the defensive coordinator says he's the most brilliant guy I know or whatever, well, that's his guy. So he's going to get favored. I don't want to say favoritism, but he's going to be a guy they're going to look to get out there. So, no, I'm not surprised at all, honestly. And he was always going to have to fight uphill, which I'm fine with that. Competition, right? Either you go out there, earn it, or they'll put somebody else in.
No. I mean, I feel you. I just wanted to know kind of how you felt about the linebacker rotation and kind of how things are going. And
I'm not a fan of rotating linebackers too. I like that. I'm not a fan.
No,
personally.
I'm not either because I think these guys need to get a feel. I think these guys, especially if it's a tandem, especially if we're talking about, when we talk about linebacker, most of the time we're talking about, there's individual players that are good, but I think about the tandems in the NFL and them building chemistry and connection and how they play off of each other. These guys need to build some of that. I thought that Maris Leofau Here's my thing about Maris is like, and this is something I thought about him in the draft. He's so aggressive that it kills him sometimes. And it's like he'll overrun his gap. He'll see it. He'll read it. He'll see it. He'll come downhill, and he just overran it. He needs to do a better job of setting his feet, and we're going to see him make a lot more plays from there. So, yeah, I'm
T.Y., listen to this. So DeMarvin Overshown, last week, 18 snaps. This week, 49. Maris Leofau, last week, I think he played like 39 snaps. This week, 29. Last week, Damone Clark, I can't remember how many. I think he played over 30. Yeah, I think he played about 30-some snaps. This week, 12. What the hell is that? You can't do this. I'm sorry. Linebacker, and I know, and I'm not surprised at this because Coach Zimmer said this was going to happen. He said it's going to be Kendricks and somebody next to him, different type of games. I'm with you. I feel like you need to let these guys get a feel out there and become playmakers. You can't really become a playmaker in and out of the lineup like this. And it's not because of injuries. This is just by design. It's very weird to me. I don't know how many teams play 4 linebackers 20-plus snaps a game if you don't count outside line. 4 interior linebackers, inside linebackers in that manner. Let these dudes get a feel. If you believe DeMarvin Overshown is your future, let him figure this out. He needs the damn reps. If it's Maris Leofau, then pull the Band-Aid off. Let him be the guy. But this in and out stuff, snip, snap, I'm not a fan of it.
No, he definitely needs the reps. And when you talk about DeMarvin Overshown, I think that's some of the stuff that you saw on the field with him, with some of the inexperience and reading it while having to read while he's on the field and stuff is like he's not going to get better with that if he doesn't get experience in that regard. And here's the thing also too, even with Kalen Carson, man, like I think people are being a little hard on him a tad bit. I think he's giving up some plays, but I thought quite honestly he might have, after he missed that tackle, he might have been your best tackler for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he took a mean Sunday. Stiff arm that
it was a filthy stiff arm.
That was a mean stiff arm. But what I love about Kalen Carson, and I often bring this up to the viewers a lot, like how do you bounce back? Cornerbacks have to have the ability to forget. Now, this wasn't like a pass play where he got mossed or got broken down in coverage. He missed the tackle. Okay, it happened. Need you to get over it. Dak talked about it in the presser. You can't dwell on these things. And, he fought back and whatnot, and he's going to learn. There's going to be growing pains. That's what happens when you play these young guys. You talked about it with Maris Leofau. Leofau, I'll give him this. When he's wrong going 110% too high. Like, he ain't wrong slow to the hole. He is 110%. You can see Demo thinking more than you'll see Leofau thinking. Leofau firing like a guy with his hair cut off. The offensive linemen, rookies, growing pains. This is when you are relying on 1, 2, 3, 4, essentially 4.5, 5 rookies to play legitimate real roles because we don't partake in going out and signing legitimate veterans in the offseason. This is what's going to come with it. That's the way it goes.
And I agree with you. They put a lot of responsibility on these young guys, and I just think with some positions you can do that, but there'll be more growing pains than not when you do that. So I don't know, man. It is something to keep an eye on in regard to Kalen Carson's shoulder. I will say I don't know a whole bunch, but I do know that he is going to have to. Yeah, he's going to have to we'll see where he's at the end of the week if he's going to play. So I'm so worried about that, just saying, because Malik Neighbors and those people down there, the Giants have a pretty good roster, man. Like they've been trying to figure some things out for a while, so we're going to look forward to them, I'm sure, tomorrow. I can't wait to your breakdown and everything, but it's Jerry was on the radio this morning talking, so I'm sure we're going to have some headliners from that.
2 things there. We did get confirmation Cook is not being called up too high, so it will be that regular rotation of running backs. The other thing, the Giants got the victory last week. I understand the Giants are trying to improve, but the Giants are definitely a potential medicine game for you. Like this, I don't think they present the same challenges as the last 2 teams. So, and look, they're not going to get a cookout from me if they get the victory, right? But this is the type. All right, this is the guy. This is the team that's on the next schedule. I don't care if they were 0-17. You got to go out there, handle business, because you need to start building momentum so you can feel a little bit better about yourself moving forward. Because guess what? After the Giants, it don't get any easier than that.
I agree. I agree. This is a game where you need to be using it to right some of your wrongs. Because here, I mean, even with the Giants' defensive line, it's not amazing, but they do have some guys on that defensive line. They do have some guys on their roster that you can say, you can walk out this game and say, okay, well, we put some good things on tape. We found some things we liked, whatever the case may be. But, yeah, I agree with you. This offense specifically, I know the defense is a whole nother story, but I'm looking for this offense to find some synergy going into, the rest of the season. Because, listen, man, and again, we're going to take, if they win, we're going to take it with a grain of salt with certain information, but I guess it just depends on what you're looking for. I'm looking for them
perspective.
To just figure. Yes, it's perspective. I'm looking for them to just figure some things out. We've talked about it, the fact, like the lack of preseason and how teams are basically using this first few weeks to kind of sort out things. That's what the Cowboys need to be trying to do. You need to be trying to win. You need to be trying to win. Listen, this ain't no joint practice.
No.
But you also do need to be trying to figure out, like, how to get some things to come out of this game and say, okay, these are some things we do well. Let's take this into the next week.
Very well said. Look, go drink some water, because you've been killing it over here with Eye in the Sky with 2 Eye. Get a little bit of rest before you get on to your show here in the next 45 minutes with the great work that you do. I just want to say publicly here, give you your flowers publicly. I do this all the time, but I'm proud. I'm a fan of what you're doing, what you guys are doing there. You, Jesse, Jeff, Chill's hilarious on the show. Y'all even got my brother Voch for the post game. I'm loving what's happening over there. I'll be watching. I'll be supporting, and have a good show later, man.
You too, man. I appreciate you, Sky. You already know what it is. I'm coming 10 toes down about your 6. So
appreciate it. Look, that's how you know she was in the middle. Y'all better stop playing. She got my 6. Appreciate you too.
Listen. Bye, Brody.
Man, I told her this, and she always comes through. I said, look, I need to talk some ball. I want to talk some ball, with you. Handful of people. Hey, come, let's talk ball. She'll talk some ball. Unique. One of one, I believe, maybe one of two, if you count Mina Kimes. I don't think there's many that does this. Look, I'm just be honest, many females that do this in the manner she does. So I always want to make sure I give her her flowers, because she next. I'm telling you, she next up. She act all shy and everything, but she next up, 2 Eye. Okay? Man, that was great. That was awesome. Got a chance to get the film. Got a chance to talk about what she saw via film and just in general. And now, what I forgot to do yesterday was get to the super chats, and I'll get to those today. So we got a lot of super chats from yesterday to today. Tex, what show is she on? She's with Girls Talk, BoysTalking.com, and I actually got to update her bio, and she is one of the co-hosts on DLLS Cowboys. They go on about 11, so they go on after me. I got to go all the way back to yesterday, okay, and get to y'all supers. Yesterday, I wasn't about to come on, not because of the game, whatever, I'm used to that. I barely could even talk, but we got through it. I just didn't get any super, so I got y'all today.
Super chat.
All right, where we at? 23 yesterday, 24 today. We them boys dropped 5 yesterday. Said, if I'm the Giants, I'm running the ball 50 times. Man, let me pull this over here. Look it up. Let me do this real quick. This might be a little bit easier. Apologies, y'all, bad radio, but I told y'all I do everything. Wow, perfect. Not perfect. Okay, we're going to do it this way. We them boys. Back over here. If I'm the Giants, I'm running the ball 50 times. With Singletary, Daniel Jones, their fast receivers, this team cannot stop the run no matter what. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the Giants. I'm going to go watch them, so I can't really say too much right now. I don't know exactly how much improved they are. Daniel Jones still the quarterback. We know how he plays against the Cowboys. Yes, he can run. Yes, Dayball can call those plays up for you. I don't think Dayball has that type of read option, split zone creativity as the Ravens, but he runs. So we'll take a look. If they lose to the Giants, y'all, I'm never one to be like, oh, time for the draft, but come on. They lose to the Giants. We them boys also dropped too. Want to see Toxic if they lose to the Giants. Okay. And then Flank God Gaming dropped 5.
Super chat.
He said the problem with the boys is Jerry can't sell his soul twice. Whew. Steven got to step up to the plate and sign a deal just like Jerry did in the 90s. Yeah, there's this video of Jerry coming out basically saying he sold his soul to the devil for the suit. He said, I'm asking 95, right? I sold my soul to the devil to get one more Super Bowl because he wanted to prove he can win one without Jimmy Johnson. And then he comes back and says, I'm asking for one more deal or whatever. Let's rescind the deal. It don't work that way, Jerry. It's not how it works. Jaboctimus Prime.
Super chat.
He said, drop 5, said, guys won't play for Zim. At what point do they let Al Harris call plays for the D? Simplify and run what they did last season. So I find that interesting, right? 2 Eyes said something. I'm not going to blow this up because I'm not sure yet, but it's her opinion. She's close to the team. Where she was like, I don't know if everybody, and to paraphrase, is bought in. Right? Is bought in. And I'm like, oh, no. No. That sounds like Mike Nolan. Sounds like Mike Nolan. So if that's the case, what Jaboctimus Prime is saying is, well, we know they love Al. And that when we were throwing things at the wall yesterday, that was one of the things I said. Well, maybe Al becomes the guy that runs. But that's we're not there just quite yet. I hope these guys buy in though, right? I feel like you can tell who is, or at least vocally. We've only heard from Micah and D-Law and J. Lou, but these don't sound like guys that are not bought in. These sound like guys that are obviously bought in. If you go watch in the assignments, something that we talked about on Twitter with Tuck, last year people were upset with Micah because he wasn't playing edge containment. He wasn't doing the thing. He was flying upfield like they basically were, hey, that's just get after the quarterback. Well, now I ask him to play edge containment, and that's going to do what? Okay, I'm not going to be able to get to the queue as much. I'm not going to probably make a ton of plays. I'm just going to be a guy that helps out so other guys can make plays. D-Law, same thing. These dudes is pissed off. Now, I know they were on the sideline going back and forth at each other. Personally, I don't think it was necessarily about what either of them were doing. I think they're just fed up with everyone not on the same page. Hence, Hero Ball, you'll hear J. Lou talk about details, et cetera, et cetera. That to me is somebody or somebodies are not bought in and they're out there just doing their own damn thing. We can't do that. Still, them boys dropped 2. Said we got the most basic offensive scheme. 100% agree.
Super chat.
B Bird dropped 2 yesterday. Said Belichick said that he'd be fine with just being head coach. Yeah, the video going around, Belichick was like, man, they got enough to figure this out. They got enough to figure this out. Yeah, they'll be all right. They got enough. I mean, yes, and possibly no. Right? People got to buy in. People got to put their hard hats on. We talked about that going into this Ravens game. You better put your hard hats on. Been having a lot of conversation about the offensive line and guys not playing well and how can you help them or whatever. I'm like, dude, I look around the league at worse offensive line rooms, and these rooms are having to look across the field on that day. We went into the Ravens game. Everybody in Baltimore is like, our offensive line stinks. Our offensive line is not playing well. Still able to average over 5 yards per carry. Still were able, because of the how and the things that are helping them do so. If your offensive line can't put a hat on a hat and move guys, which everybody told me that was going to happen this year, then you need to do something. You can't just sit back. We can't just sit back and be like, oh, do nothing. Do something. I digress. Dwayne dropped 5.
Super chat.
Says excuses by the players. I just dress up, lie, go out and play tough football. I'm guessing you're saying dress up, lie, go out and play football. Appreciate you, DB.
Super chat.
Jerry worried about players, no ditties, and Catboy concerned with the bread. Man, you might be on to something there, JD.
Super chat.
Marcus Hardison yesterday dropped 5 and said, "This is what your team looks like when they quit on a lame duck coach without a new contract. More embarrassing losses on the way. Brace yourself." A lot of embarrassing losses the last 2 years.
Super chat.
My DC Forel dropped 5 and said, "Do you think there was anything to the defense not being able to stop the run because they don't practice against good run game with the offense?" I mean, I'm not going to rule that out, but there's only so many number of practice reps they can do in that. But that might be a legitimate. I'm not ruling it out, bro. I'm not ruling it out. You may be on to something there. There may be something to that. I highly doubt the Cowboys are practicing running in the same manner. Now, you do have a scout team, right? Like, scout team is doing that. But during the season, man, I don't think people realize, like, practices are not really practices like camp. During the season, you got Monday, you're off. Tuesday, film. Wednesday, you go into do a regular practice, which you're preparing for. You're implementing game plans for the game. You're not really concerned with thudding up and hitting and all that stuff. You're doing a lot of X and O stuff. Thursday may be specific to one thing, or Friday might be specific to one thing. Red zone, third downs, whatever. So it's not the same. The time to really practice in that manner is camp. Got a couple more.
Super chat.
G-Dub dropped 2. How many Cowboys will start for the Ravens? Oh, we could play that game. That'd be fun. Probably not a dozen, but a good bit.
Super chat.
And then Rohit dropped a dub. Few points. Once large blocking scheme not matching personnel reminds me of Paul Alexander. Is that that's not the ketchup guy, is it? We went through a weird phase. No one talks about it. We went through a weird phase with offensive line coaches. But Paul Alexander, I think that was the Bengals OC came over. It was like a catch-up weird situation. He said it reminds him of Paul Alexander failed time in 2018, but McCarthy didn't want to retain Colombo. McCarthy didn't want to. I'm guessing you mean Garrett. At that time, didn't want to retain Colombo. And number 2, defense failing under Zimmer is trending to Mike Nolan too. Yeah, it's more so. My concern is they're not being, I guess, receptive, which is weird because we heard a lot of them were receptive, but when it's time to get going and the bullets are flying, maybe they're not. Was that the ketchup guy? Rohit? I think it was. Yeah, man, we're still chasing the ghost of, unfortunately, run game Moses in that manner. And I personally think that starts with who's running the offense. Because you got say in how you want to run the ball. McCarthy don't care. That's why I ain't believe him. He don't care about who back there. Maybe he might, but he don't care about how you do it either. I don't care. So it was Paul Alexander. What a weird time. Lee said, bro, I think Dalvin was talking about the brother. Oh, that makes sense. So Dalvin Cook tweeted and me included, all the Cowboys Nation was like, oh, Dalvin Cook is getting called up. And I'm not even, me, I don't think Dalvin Cook is like that anymore. But what do you got to lose at this point? I don't even need you to be like that. I just need you to be better than what we got going on here. But he might have been talking about his brother, the better Cook in Buffalo, which them games yesterday. I tweeted out, and let me make sure I read this right because y'all know how I feel. Those who watch the show know how I feel about first 15. I think it's extremely important. I said, you want to see a first 15 with some purpose? Buffalo just put on a masterclass. That's what scheming with a purpose looks like out the gate. Y'all want to know what the very first play for the Cowboys was? Just take a guess. slant, flat on both sides of the ball. When I'm emphasizing this offense, I just don't get how people are watching this and like, yeah, everything's cool with this. But got to be better. 88, 4, 87, 3. Y'all just have to work within it and be better. But there is no room for error. This offense gives you none of that. The defense if this is the room for error, the defense the way it's playing now shrinks it to this. There's no room. There's no I will figure it out throughout the game. Because I feel like that's how we come out these games. We just figuring shit out. Go watch how some of these teams come out with purposeful. It's just so much purpose in what the hell they're doing. We're just figuring it out. We'll adapt to what they know. I digress. I'm tired of keep going. Trick or treat plays, says Tony. All right. Good stuff today. Appreciate y'all. Shouts out. Oh, one more just came through. Toxic dropped one.
Super chat.
Said, don't listen to what a leader says. Watch what they do. Nothing Jerry, Rosie, or Mike does show they have an answer. A ship without a captain. Toxic, please change it back to Toxic Tom. 8.5-inch Toxic's crazy. No diddy. Crazy. Yeah. Drummer just came in and said, Jerry said this morning, no reason to expect personnel changes. I don't listen. Drummer, I don't listen to that, man. But not that I expect them. I don't expect any of that. Since when do the Cowboys really do that this early? Now, there's two sides to that. If I really wanted to dive into it, sometimes Jerry will say these things, and the next thing you know, breaking news. Where's my breaking news button? Where's the one I like? I got a new one I like. Breaking news. The Cowboys traded first-round pick for Amari Cooper. Whoa. That shock you, right? More likely what you're going to see around week 7, 8 is breaking news. Cowboys traded a 6th-round pick for Jonathan Hankins. That's more like what you're going to see possibly. So, yeah, I don't really see him doing nothing crazy. But he did come out and say no Dalvin Cook. Now that, when the owner says that, well, you got to take him with face value. Which I think is hilarious, by the way. The owner going on there. The coach ain't saying it. The owner is going on there saying, well, he's not playing. A whole different discussion, man. Anyway, good stuff today. Appreciate you guys coming through on your way out. Do me a favor. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's show. If you missed today's show, we broke down. It was more of a positive film review. I got tired. I just got tired of. If I did a negative film review, we'd still be doing the film. So I wanted to look at some plays where, hey man, build on top of this moving forward. We'll see if that happens. We got an update on some injuries, and then we got some analytical takes from the one, the only, 2I, Aisha Morrison of DallasCowboys.com and DLLS. Tomorrow, again, because it is short week, likely what I'll do, we're going to break down Giants offense, Giants defense, same day. Thursday, we will hear from Pat, kind of giving us his game day analysis. And then we got the game. I will be at Canvas Sports and Social, so you guys can come through. Check me and Jesse Hiley out. I'm always vibing. No matter what the hell is going on, the vibe there is so great that I'm vibing in general. I'm just having a good time. The way the score was going, I was at the point where I was about to be done watching the damn game. I was about to go on my phone, on my Specs app, and I was about to get me a couple bottles, ladies and gentlemen, because, boy, it was getting a little crazy. I was about to hit up Specs, get my delivery, because that's what they do. This guy can't go to the store. It's cool. It's cool. They got same-day delivery, curbside pickup if you don't want to go in. It is your one-stop shop for wine, beer, and finer foods. If you're planning that Cowboys game day watch party in the den, shouts out to Lee, hit up Specs. If you just need a good bottle of wine on that special night, hit up Specs. They got you covered. Cheers to you. Cheers to savings. All right, let's press this button and get the heck up out of here.
Push the goddamn button.
Push the goddamn button.
Hey, as a football fan, Jaden Daniels is going to be so fun to watch. As a Cowboy fan, we'll have to deal with that guy. We'll have to deal with that guy. Good win for the Washington football people. Defense is still trash. They got one in Jaden Daniels. We out here. Peace.